name's Annie Tinnen. I'm a Catholic wife, mother, and author. I'm getting ready to start our second year of homeschool, and I couldn't be more excited. We chose to go with a traditional Catholic curriculum at a Post Falls, Idaho. It's called Our Lady of Victory, and I couldn't be happier with this program. One of the best things about homeschooling was that we have all our evenings back. There is no homework. When you pack up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's about the time we get finished every day, you're done for the day. And you have the rest of the day to enjoy your family, to cook dinner, to do all the things that bring so much joy that we frequently are rushing around and forget. The second thing that really surprised me was how much I was going to learn. Now, I love learning. So learning more about history, math, is something I thoroughly enjoy. But one of the best things is learning about my Catholic faith and realizing how much I still have to learn. And when I think about trying to impress upon my children the doctrines of the Catholic faith, I realize how important it is for us to understand it so well ourselves. That realization has really shaped my life. It's led me to publish my first book, The Way Jesus Fulfills the Old Testament Feasts. And I'm currently getting ready to publish the second in this trilogy called The Truth, One Mediator Across the Covenants. This second book, The Truth, will come with a study companion because I've grown increasingly passionate about helping other busy Catholic mothers and fathers learn their faith so that they can pass it on to their children. Because if we don't know the faith, how can we pass it on? And that brings me to what I wanted to share with you today. This was a book that my 7th grader, Eli, was charged with reading last year in the curriculum. And we read it together. It's called Flame of White. And it's a biography on Giuseppe Sarto, the man who became Pope Pius X. There's one particular scene in this book that I cannot stop thinking about. On the night before he was elected Pope, and he knew that he was going to be elected Pope, he was very distraught. This was a simple, humble man, and he did not feel worthy of taking on the succession of the chair of Peter and becoming Pope. To gather the courage to accept such a responsibility, he didn't think back to something he learned in seminary. In that overwhelming, crushing moment of being on the threshold of accepting the papacy, the words of his mother came back to him. And in that moment, I stopped thinking about Pope Pius X, and I started thinking about his mother. She had told him long ago when he was a little boy that when you are faced with difficult burdens, to take them on for the love of Christ, because he carried such a heavy burden for us. Those were the words that he thought of. The formation, the Catholic formation that his mother had instilled in him. By that time, she was long gone, but her words remained. She couldn't have known what was going to be asked of her son. She couldn't have known that those burdens that she was preparing him to carry and encouraging him to carry for the love of Christ would one day include the papacy. She didn't have to know. And I think that is really profound, that we don't know what's going to be asked of our children. But God has entrusted those children to us to form them correctly, so that one day when he does ask of them difficult things, they are prepared. They are prepared in a Catholic way to accept those responsibilities. And I think that that's important for mothers because our role is so profound. But in some of those moments, the duties of motherhood don't look profound. Because if I'm being honest, it's cleaning up dishes, it's making dinner, it's doing laundry, it's helping with math homework, it's correcting a behavior. Sometimes it can be exhausting, and sometimes it can feel like it doesn't matter because nobody sees the thousands of things that we do on a day-to-day basis. But they do matter, and I'm reminded of the verse in Ecclesiastes that says, "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity." Now, Ecclesiastes is not saying that our work is in vain and doesn't matter, but when it is separated from the proper end, it can be vanity. And I think that this applies to education as well. I can educate my child to get good grades. I can teach them how to excel in sports. I can prepare them with tests and grades and service hours so that they can have a great transcript and a good college application. I can prepare them to get a good job and make a good living. But if I have failed to teach them whose they are and what they were made for, and that their proper end is God, what have I actually accomplished? I've taught them how to make a good living, but I've failed to teach them how to live. And I think that we need to be grounded and come back to that and realize that our first and foremost obligation is to instill upon them their proper end, and that is God. So I just wanted to share that experience that we had, the first of many in homeschool, and to encourage you to read this book if you have not. It's called Flame of White. Thank you.